Hi guys, this is Mrs. Foy and I'm going to go over your nomenclature quest, all right? So this is calcium, that is phosphate. I do not need a Roman numeral because it is not a transition metal, and so this is just simply calcium phosphate. That is lead, that is a transition metal, and that is nitride. So it's going to be lead something nitride because it's just a single anion, and then I put I there. So nitrogen is a -3, and there are 2 of them, and there are 3 leads, and so that must be a +2 for each one, and so it is lead 2 nitrate. This is iron, that is chlorate, and iron is a transition metal, and so I'm going to need a Roman numeral for it. Chlorate is a -1, and I have 3 of them and only 1 iron, so that must be iron 3 chlorate. This is tin. That is another transition metal. That is hydroxide. I'm going to need a Roman numeral here. Hydroxide has a -1 charge, and I have 4 of them. And only 1 tin, so the charge on the tin must be a +4. This is strontium, that is phosphide. I do not need a Roman numeral for strontium. It's not a transition metal. So that's just plain old strontium phosphide. That is potassium, that is carbonate. I do not need a Roman numeral because potassium is not a transition metal. That is just plain old potassium carbonate. That is a polyatomic ion ammonium, and then that is sulfide. Remember, if it is a negative ion, they always come second. They always end with I, sulfide. All right, so now we're going to go with zinc chloride. Zinc is a +2, chloride is a -1, so it's going to be ZnCl2. Mercury 2, that means it's going to be a +2 charge. Acetate is C2H3O2-. I'm going to need 2 of them. And so I'm going to need a parentheses because if it's a polyatomic ion and you need more than 1, you have to have a parentheses. Magnesium bromide. Magnesium is a +2. Bromide is a -1. So it's just MgBr2. Silver sulfate. Silver is a +1. You memorize that on your polyatomic ions. Sulfur is SO4 -2, and so I just write silver, and I need 2 of them with the sulfate. Barium arsenide. Barium is a +2. Arsenide is a -3. It's in nitrogen's family. Everybody's a -3 there. So I'm going to need 3 of these, and I'm going to need 2 of those to make my negatives and positives balance. Potassium is K+1 permanganate. MnO4-, and so this is just going to be KMnO4. Really pretty purple chemical, potassium permanganate. Hydrogen is a +1, phosphate PO4-3, so I'm going to need 3 hydrogens to balance out with my phosphate. All right, so now let's do the percent composition problems. I need to know the percent composition of, this is actually ammonium nitrate. So I have 2 nitrogens, right? I have a nitrogen there and a nitrogen there. Each one is 14.01 grams per mole times 2. That's 28.02 grams of nitrogen. Hydrogen, I have the mass of hydrogen at 1.01, and I have 4 hydrogens. That little 4 right there means I have 4, and so that's going to be 4.04 grams of hydrogen. And then finally my oxygen is 16 grams times 3, and I have 48 grams of that. So that means my molar mass of ammonium nitrate is 80.06 grams per mole. So now I'm going to just say, well, what is my percent of nitrogen? So I take the 28.02 grams of nitrogen divided by the 80.06 grams times 100, and that gives me 35.00%. The percent of hydrogen, I take the mass of the hydrogen, which is 4.04 grams, divided by 80.06 times 100, and that's going to give me 5.05%. hydrogen, and then percent oxygen. I'm just going to take all the mass of the oxygens divided by the total mass of the compound times 100, and that gives me 59.96% of oxygen. All right, so now we're going to do our mole conversion problems, and I'm asking for how many molecules of hydrogen sulfate. So I need molecules. Technically, this would be an FU, but that's all right. We'll call it molecules. Hydrogen sulfate. Hydrogen is a +1, sulfate SO4 -2, and so my compound is going to be H2SO4. So I'm going to start out over here with 25.0 grams because I want a single unit. I'm going to start with a single unit. Now what I need to do, what I need to do now is, stop, get it back over. What I need to do now is to figure out the molar mass. So I've got hydrogen is 1.01 times 2. That's the mass of the hydrogen. Mass of the sulfur is 32.07, and the mass of the oxygen is 16 times 4. You add all that up together and you get a molar mass of 98.09 grams per mole. So I've got 25 grams of my H2SO4, and I know that 98.09 grams is how much 1 mole of H2SO4 weighs. That's my molar mass. Now I know that in 1 mole, there are 6.02 times 10 to the 23 particles, in this case, molecules or FUs of hydrogen sulfate. So my grams cancel, my moles cancel, and I end up with number of particles. I'm going to stick 10 to the 23 over here. Now I'm going to take 25 times 6.02 divided by 98.06. And I get 1.53, 3 sig figs, molecules of H2SO4, or you could have said FUs of H2SO4, and circle my final answer. That is all I need. All right, so now I'm going to go for the mass. When it asks for the mass, guys, you just want to assume it's in grams. So I want a single unit. I'm going to start with the single unit. 3.51 times 10 to the 25 FUs of calcium chloride. Calcium is a +2, chloride is a -1, and so calcium chloride is going to be CaCl2. Might as well go ahead and calculate the molar mass of that. So I know that calcium weighs 40.08, and I know that chlorine, and I have 2 of them, 35.45 times 2 because I have 2 of them. That means my molar mass is 110.98 grams per mole. So I'm not going to use that yet because right now I need to get to moles. So I have this many particles, and I know that 6.02 times 10 to the 23 FUs or atoms or molecules, whatever you want to talk about, is equal to 1 mole. So now my FUs cancel. Now I'm at moles. Now I can use this molar mass. So in 1 mole of CaCl2, I know it weighs 110.98 grams. My moles cancel and I'm at grams. So the first thing I'm going to do is deal with my exponents. 25 minus 23 is 10 to the 2. Now I'm going to do with the other numbers. 3.51 times 110.98 divided by 6.02 is equal to 64.70. I need to move that over 1, so I have 6.47. I have 3 sig figs. I made the number smaller, so I have to make the exponent bigger. Grams of CaCl2. And that is my final answer. Hope that's been helpful.